I don't know how to start this. I ain't a writer or anything, but I need to put this down somewhere because I feel like if I don't, it'll fade, and I don't want that. I need to remember, or maybe I don't. I don't know. It was late. I'd been driving for hours trying to get home. The rain had started an hour back, light at first, just enough to make the road shine under the headlights. Then it got worse. The kind of storm that makes you turn the radio down so you can focus. I was on the motorway when I saw the brake lights ahead, red dots stretching into the distance, unmoving. Traffic. Great. I slowed down, expecting the usual, a lane closed, maybe a minor fender bender, but then I saw the blue and red lights flashing through the rain. A police line. People standing outside their cars. I sighed and tapped my fingers on the wheel. No point in getting worked up. The wipers slapped back and forth trying to keep up with the downpour. I checked my phone. No signal, typical. I turned the radio on, hoping to drown out the rain. Static, I switched stations, more static. Then, just for a second, there was something else. A voice. It was low, garbled, I couldn't make out the words. But there was something off about it, a strange rhythm. Like it was skipping. A loop. Then it was gone, just static again. I frowned and turned the radio off. That's when I noticed something else. People weren't acting normal. Usually in traffic like this, folks would be annoyed, honking, checking their watches, yelling into their phones. But not this time. People were just standing. Some leaned against their cars, staring ahead. Others had umbrellas, but they weren't using them. They just stood in the rain, faces blank, eyes fixed on the crash up ahead. Something about it made my skin crawl. I rolled down my window slightly. The air smelled like wet asphalt and something else, something sharp. I listened. No one was talking. No one was moving. Just the rain and the distant hum of engines idling. Then, through the blur of water on my windshield, I saw something near the police cars. A shadow. A figure standing too still, too far from the wreck. I leaned forward. Something about it felt familiar. I blinked, rubbed my eyes. When I looked again, it was gone. A knock on my window made me jump. I turned and saw a man standing outside my car, soaked through, hood up. He didn't say anything, just pointed toward the crash like he was trying to tell me something. His face was in shadow. I shook my head. What? He didn't answer, just turned and walked away. I watched him go, but he didn't join the crowd. He just kept walking, disappearing between the stopped cars. My stomach twisted. The rain suddenly felt colder. The police weren't moving either. They stood near the wreck, staring at the crushed vehicles like they were waiting for something. I counted 4 of them, all facing the same direction. Then one of them turned and looked straight at me. For a moment, I swear he knew me. His face was blank, but his eyes, there was something in them, a flicker of recognition. Then he turned back like nothing happened. I felt something shift in my stomach, a sense of déjà vu so strong it made me dizzy. I had been here before. I didn't know how or when, but I knew. I glanced around, looking at the other cars, looking at the faces in the rain. I knew some of them, not personally, but I had seen them before, somewhere. I opened my car door and stepped out. The rain hit me hard, cold and heavy. I walked toward the police line, toward the wreck. My feet felt unsteady, like I wasn't supposed to be here. As I got closer, I saw the cars, twisted metal, shattered glass, and then I saw the bodies, covered with black tarps, 4 of them. My breathing hitched. The rain made the fabric cling to the shapes underneath, outlining their features. One was small, a child. Another had an arm sticking out, pale, motionless. Something in me screamed to turn back, to get in my car and drive, but I didn't. I stepped closer, close enough to see my reflection in the wet pavement, close enough to hear something under the rain. A whisper. I turned my head sharply. The police were still standing there. The people in the traffic were still staring. No one had moved. No one had spoken. I looked at the bodies again. My heart pounded. One of them. I knew. I stepped closer. The whispering got louder. My hands trembled as I reached for the tarp. I don't know why. I had to. I pulled it back, and I saw myself lying there, soaked, eyes open, mouth slightly parted, like I was about to say something. I staggered back. The air left my lungs. I turned. The crowd was still staring. The police weren't moving. I wasn't supposed to be here. I stumbled back toward my car, heart slamming in my chest. My legs felt heavy, like I was sinking, like the rain was pulling me down. I grabbed my door handle. The metal was warm, not cold like before. I looked up. The police lights flickered. The bodies were gone. The crash was gone. The traffic was moving. A horn blared behind me. Someone yelled. I jumped, scrambling into my car, my breath coming fast and hard. I slammed the door. My hands shook as I gripped the wheel. The rain had stopped. I checked my rearview mirror. The motorway was clear. No wreckage, no police, no bodies. But I could still feel it. The weight of it, the wrongness. I thought about how fast I drive sometimes, how close I've come, how many times I've ignored the thought that maybe one day I wouldn't be lucky. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt like I was still there. The flashing lights, the rain, the whispering, the feeling that I had been given a second chance. 2 days later, I walked into a church. I don't know why, I just had to. And for the first time since that night, I felt like I could breathe again.